Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Prolonged Fast Podcast. Today with me here I have Victor. Woo! And
Hello everyone, I'm
Engin.
back for another one.
Woo!
Hello everybody. Yeah,
Let's
good to meet
go.
you guys.
Shocker.
So today we are going to be tackling
So.
one of the oldest institutions in the world. No, it's not prostitution.
Yo, mama. Look guys, he set it up.
Cut.
Okay. It's marriage.
Cut. There's no cut in here. Go on, continue.
Now, unfortunately, there isn't an even number of us, so, we can't be split up into pairs. So, I guess the two
I
boys will have
guess
to
we
fight
can
over
be
who
split up
gets
into
married.
apples.
Shut up.
What?
Pears, apples.
We
yeah.
can be split up.
No, I prefer to be split up
polygamy,
into androids.
relationship.
Much better.
Huh?
So, let's start with a simple one. Wedding rings. How do you guys feel about that?
It's pretty ringy and wedding-like. Like, if you really
Would
think
you
about
think
it.
wedding rings are for you a necessity for
Yeah.
marriage? Is that like a thing that you care about?
For marriage, I couldn't give less of a shit about a wedding ring.
I think
Like,
it's
well,
nice
I mean,
to have...
depends. Like,
What was the question?
Like, the purpose of it is to show that you're married
It's
so that
nice.
people don't hit on you. But, like,
Was
what?
really
but
that
like,
the
no.
purpose?
Okay, I take it back.
Oh.
I
Yeah,
think
why
it's
do you
important
think
to
they-
have.
I
It's,
thought it was
it's
more
important to
symbolic.
have one, but it's
It's like
it's
you
important-
always have a reminder of your loved
it's
one.
important to have one, but I don't think it's useful. I don't think a expensive one is important.
Okay, so I'm not a
you
big
should
spender
get one of
then.
those like pink
See what I'm saying?
candy ring things.
What the fuck?
Okay.
Not a stupid
Yeah,
one.
no,
either.
it's like tattoos. If you're gonna get one, you need to get something that isn't, like, embarrassing.
Like not too expensive, but not too cheap. You know,
What about you, Engin? How much are you spending on your ring?
just right.
10,000.
Oh my god.
No, I'm kidding.
He's spending
Not
his whole
way too
fortune.
much money, but like less than 1,000. Okay, less than
No.
500 maybe, around there.
I was gonna say 1,000, but I mean, some people spend
yeah.
like hundreds of.
I mean,
thousands.
what's the
Yeah,
rule is
less
supposed to
than
be like
500.
I mean,
three
those are
months
billionaires,
salary, 2 months salary.
1,000 yen.
Yeah,
2
2 or 3
months
months
salary
salary.
for a ring?
So,
Hell
like,
no.
either like maybe 4 to 6K for like the
Nah.
average person, somewhere there.
What?
My girl can
So
starve.
the point is that you can feed her so that but you can't afford the whatever. So well, it actually segues us into the next thing.
It's like why peacocks have big, colorful feathers.
Yeah, they just do.
It's like if
Um,
they're good at carrying around
Huh?
really cumbersome and colorful feathers, and they're still alive, it probably means they're pretty good at being alive. So if you can buy like an expensive wedding ring and still have money,
Like a-
it probably means you have a lot of money.
Like a peacock?
Probably means that you don't actually have a job.
What about those people that like just keep spending even though
Well,
they're in
that's
like that? and
Yeah,
they can't pay
Yeah,
it
then those
off,
guys
but they
get a
just
visit
keep-
from a man with a submachine
getting
gun
more
and a
money.
violin case.
the IRS.
Well, that's true, but they have their like moments of shine until it ends.
Yeah, and then they die because the debt collectors aren't happy. Okay, we're not here to talk about debt collecting. That's an interesting episode for later. So
It's like Red Dead
Exactly.
Redemption 2, if you guys know.
nowadays, well, of course, divorce is a lot more common because of obvious reasons. First of all, it's allowed, which is probably. Can we agree that divorce being legal is a positive thing? Can we like,
Yeah.
or should we
Yeah.
fight about
I think
divorce
it's
for like
a
10
pretty
years?
Divorce
good
is
thing.
legal?
Yeah.
I think
No,
it's
but is
pretty
it
doesn't
good
legal.
that it's
agree
legal?
that divorce is a good thing. Victor, you monster. Explain why you don't
Oh,
think this.
Is it good? Yeah, it's pretty good.
Victor, why do you
What?
hate women?
What do you mean? I
Um,
think that. I don't. This is accusations on my person.
Victor, it's these
on
are,
me.
okay?
These are nuts.
This is why we need a divorce, Victor. So,
Finally.
okay, so, why do you guys think that we want to have marriage as like a thing? Why is it a concept that exists to different extents in basically all cultures?
Money.
Why marriage
Money.
for money or divorce?
Yeah,
For money.
both.
Um,
You need to marry to divorce.
well, I mean, obviously there's a money component in like an old school sense, if women aren't allowed to have jobs or whatever, they need to be able to defend themselves somehow.
But there's been marriage fraud
Oh,
before.
probably, yeah.
Okay, let's assume a more
Yeah.
idyllic world where people are actually marrying out of like emotional reasons, not literally just for money. Do you think
Well, that's
people
not realistic.
naturally want to have like one single partner, or do you think like society puts that on people?
So you're saying, do they want to have
Well, I
50
mean,
partners at once,
I'm just
or one
saying
partner
that like
at once?
it's not impossible to like argue that like actually the whole like monogamy thing. Why do when people don't actually want it, actually people want
I
to
think-
have endless orgies or something?
What?
I think one is enough, personally.
No,
Wait,
no.
what did
saying
you say
nothing.
about orgies?
Okay, but
I hope he
What
explains.
do you
yeah,
think
yeah,
is
and
the thing?
you have
You have
opinions
professional
on
thoughts.
like having polycules.
I think they're weird. Don't have
Come on.
politics.
Okay, why do you think they're weird?
It's weird.
Why do you
Because
think they're
hippies do them.
Come on, Engin.
So weird people do them, so don't be like associated with weird
Hippies.
people.
So you're saying hippies are weirdos, and you just eliminated like one
Nope.
person from
How
watching
dare you.
our episodes.
Okay,
No, but actually,
Like that one singular hippie right there. I'm here to support you.
being
Don't
married
worry.
is also about like supporting each other and caring for each other. No, can you really do that if you have like an army of husbands or wives?
Well, let's say it's like a polycule of like 5
If you're
people,
really good at
like,
it.
surely
That's
it's
still
doable.
weird. It feels more like a friend group rather than something more, well, a weird friend group. Shut up. Yeah.
A
Rather
freaky
than
one.
something more personal.
I think a big part of it could just be that we don't like, and again, we don't know if this is cultural. Like, this is mostly just a cultural thing, not necessarily like a natural thing. But for me, the real problem with the polycule is if it gets serious and you start having kids, then it gets really weird on like who is whose kid, you know? So
Real.
like having the
what?
Who's who?
separation is
That's
no,
why
no,
you
not
have
in that
DNA
sense, but even just
tests.
like if you're parents of the kids, you two are gonna start to kind of pair off to deal with that kid more, and to like take care of them while they, some other group deals with this other kid, and then all of a sudden like what used to be a polycule of like 6 different people sleeping around, now you have 3 couples who all have kids.
Nah, they leave.
Yeah,
They're
see,
like birds.
it's
They're like
like
birds.
a
They,
more
they send
natural
their children off to fly straight
order
away
to
from
have
birth.
like 2 people caring for their own kid, and also I guess you'd have like grandparents and other relatives filling in a closer role, because that
I
just
don't think that
works more
necessarily
efficiently.
you can't
know?
have like
So you're
families
saying
living
it's
together,
natural?
but I feel like it becomes weirder, especially for like kids to be like, oh yeah, my dad sleeps with my mom, but also sometimes with my aunties, and it's like, wait, what?
Yeah, see,
Oh, oh yeah, and like half of the kids that I live with
Mm.
are actually related to me, but only through one of my
Incest?
parents. That's
Not
no,
really.
that's like the opposite of
Incest.
incest.
Incest or not game show.
That's the family branching out.
How is it the opposite if it's the
No,
family
because
branch?
I'm talking about family in like they all live in the same
Having
house,
sex with everyone.
not like they're all related. Because I mean that's how a kid would perceive it, right? If you lived in like a polycule, they'd still think they're family. Which I mean, that's
I'm
Yeah,
sure.
true.
I've never
I
I
don't
been
would
on
think
poly,
so.
but-
Victor. They're not that common.
yeah, I would imagine. Okay, so sort of a general.
I don't know, man. It's just weird all around. How do you even manage the like relationships? You just go around and say, "Hey,
bro.
wanna fuck?" And they say, "Yeah."
I just feel like it's
And
too
then
messy.
that's
It's one
it.
of those things that doesn't survive children, you know? Like, if you start having kids, it doesn't work anymore because now you
Yeah,
can't do
because
the
it's
like
not like
endless
committed
college
at
lifestyle.
all.
Everyone's sleeping
It's
together.
just
Like, not
everybody
even
just
that.
kinda
Like,
Yeah,
even
there.
if
it's not possible.
even if you were all like in on it, the thing is, it's a far more like okay, it's hard enough to hide the fact that you're having sex from like when you're living like 2 of you and like a kid or 2 kids or whatever. But if there's like 3 different groups of sex happening like all the time, like how do you not notice that kind of shit? You know, like it just gets too messy. There's too many cooks in this broth, and they're gonna spoil it. Like the cooks aren't in the broth; they're making the broth. I mean, they could be in the broth too, I guess. If you want to cook humans, why not? I guess we could do a cannibalism episode. Let's write that down.
Ooh, that's a pretty good episode.
Yeah,
right
cannibalism.
there.
Okay.
Was it cannibalism?
So okay, we can say that this is not well. Okay, I'm not saying that like polycules are like evil or bad or anything, but I think they're a.
They are. No, I'm kidding.
It's just like a more elaborate friend with benefits You know, like it's and nothing wrong with that. Okay, have fun. But like I feel like that's not really a if your
Way to
point
live.
in life is to actually like get a family, have kids, then I don't know how well that works. Like you'd really have to have like very well-known, reliable people who you can trust. I think it would just be very difficult, and at that point, why not just have friends? You can still have an open marriage and have kids.
What's an open marriage? Oh,
Just means that you both like sleep around.
I have
that's
no
stupid.
idea. That's
I
stupid.
feel like that leads to
What's
trust
the point of
issues.
marriage
Maybe
if you're
it's
just gonna
because
sleep
you
around?
love each other,
No, it's because you don't.
but the sex just isn't that good.
What? No.
It's because you don't love each other, but it's too lazy to get a divorce or something.
Well, no. Usually open marriages are like specifically agreed upon. Sometimes they can be a way to try and fix the marriage, so they kind of like they lead to the end of the marriage, not directly themselves.
But marriage is not. It's not
That
all
too,
about
Victor.
sleeping
I
with each
agree.
other.
Well, yeah, but that's the
It's
thing,
about
right? So then
loving
why
each
does it
other.
matter? What like that's another thing. It's an interesting kind of connection we have. Is if marriage is supposed to be about caring for one another, beyond like whatever the act of producing the kids that you want to be like yours together, okay, why is sex even necessary? And if it's not necessary for you in the marriage, then why does it matter that you're doing it somewhere else?
I don't know. I think sex is hyped up
Oh.
as a necessity anyways. It's not that important.
Yeah, guys, you heard it here
That's
first.
true.
Sex is overrated.
PvZ Heroes is more fun.
Jesus Christ. I mean, no, but honestly though, like even then, I feel like, especially once you've been married for a while, like a nice evening together is definitely worth more than like, oh, we had the sex again.
Yeah, see?
But then if that's
I agree.
true,
And that's why I think
then why not like?
open-ended
But then like, what does it
relationships
matter
are
if you have an open
stupid.
relationship at that point? If you don't really care about the sex, why do you care that they're having sex with someone else?
Because I don't want
Why?
them to have sex with anyone else.
Because I'm jealous.
And then the problem is
I feel
you.
like, yeah, I'm jealous. My trust has been
But it's
betrayed.
also that it's like
Your
a
trust hasn't been
personal thing,
betrayed.
you know?
The point of an open marriage is that your trust hasn't been betrayed.
Well, I
you
don't
agree
want to agree
with-
to an open
Well, I
marriage.
haven't agreed to an open marriage. Yeah,
Well, yeah, but
I'm
you
not
can't say
agreeing.
that you're not agreeing because of the consequences of an open marriage. Were you not to agree to it? That's not a valid like disagreement.
Yeah, that was
Yeah, I
messed
don't
up,
agree with that
boss.
statement you just made. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to fire you from Prolonged Fast Podcast.
You people, man.
You're donezo.
No, but like, if you can acknowledge that you don't like this, if you can acknowledge that you don't care
we
about the
people,
sex, then why do you care about the sex?
Discrimination.
You obviously
It's like-
do.
Ooh. What?
I care about
Yeah.
the sex
Why?
if it's with someone else. Because I feel like it's
Why?
not right.
Are you
Personal
part of
thing
the
and
sex?
sharing
Does it
that
feel right?
personal thing with
You're not
other
a-
people when you vow to share personal things with me feels ingenuine. Disingenuous.
If you both agreed that like we're getting
Yeah,
married
whatever
because we
England
like
said.
each other, but like the sex is kind of so and so, we don't really care about that. Then you didn't really vow to, like if either the marriage is we are gonna be the only people who have sex together, and that's the point of a marriage, or it isn't. You can't like.
Well,
have
I
it both
never
ways.
agreed to open marriages. So yeah,
No,
was
but
the latter
Victor-
definition.
Victor,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not.
Arguing that you haven't
Very
agreed to
factual.
something is not agreement. Is not an argument against agreeing to it. You need to
Well-
actually have an argument to not agree with it.
I just don't want.
Why not? Oh my god, fucking Socratic method, please. Why don't you want? No, you haven't.
We've already said why we don't want it.
Because I said
I
it's a
feel like-
personal thing, and I don't want them sharing that with other people because it's weird.
Their genitals are your personal thing?
Yeah, I own the personal.
Okay, so now this is just slavery.
Yeah.
Do you see the problem here? If we're
Well,
able
they
to
agreed
acknowledge
it, no?
that we like, oh, sex
But
doesn't
you get
actually
our.
matter.
But
No, I
But you
don't.
get
I
our.
actually don't. Like, I don't understand. How can you say both things at the same time?
So, are you gonna have an open-ended marriage if the sex is like?
No, I'm saying if
so
you don't
and so,
care about
but
the
you still
sex,
love
then
each
why
other?
should you care about the sex? If you're willing to say, like, I can understand if you don't have an open marriage and there isn't really any sex going on, and then your wife is like, oh, by the way, I've been fucking your boss. His meaty,
Okay.
juicy rooster is really great.
I care enough about the sex that I don't want the sex to go anywhere else. But I don't care enough about the sex for it to be the main reason
But
why I'm married. Why? Because what Engin said, it's personal.
But
It's
it's
not a
not
thing that I want to
yours.
share around.
You don't
with
have to
anyone.
sleep
I
with
don't want
anyone
them
else.
to be doing that.
Why not?
But I don't want them to.
Why don't you? That's
And if they do,
no,
because
Victor,
it's
that's
personal. Oh
not
my god,
oh my
how
God,
do you
no.
not understand
The
this?
justification can't be the justification for the justification. It goes for the please engage in Socratic method, please. Why now?
Yeah.
There's a next step here. You don't want to do it, or you don't want them to do it because you feel it's personal. Why do you feel it's personal? That's the next step. You have to
Because
go
you
all
don't
the way. You can't just
go
stop
around
at like
doing
the
it with
first
random
like
people.
knee-jerk
I think that's just
reaction.
in the nature of it, no?
In the nature of having sex?
Yeah,
No, that's
it's
the
in
whole
the
point of
nature.
having sex.
It being personal.
No, having it with random people. Sometimes you end up liking
No.
those random people, then you get married afterwards. It doesn't happen the other way.
Oh,
Yes, that's why after sex
No.
there are bonding hormones. This is how evolution
Normally
works.
it's the other
You
way
get bonding
around.
hormones afterwards. Now you start liking each other.
uh-huh.
That's why so many marriages are born from they had a one-night stand and they kind of liked each other. That kind of stuff happens all the time.
And I think but you're forgetting about the other
More
side. I think
successful
more marriages
marriages
been
have
born
been born
from
from
people knowing
liking
each other
for
first.
the people they are.
Yeah, they were dating and then they like probably had some sex at
Especially
some
them,
point.
them,
And
them
then
meeting first.
they were like, I guess we like each other. And then the marriage happened. There's
Yeah,
still
but-
that involved.
No, but first of all is the knowing each other and then getting to know each other. Then maybe the sex happens. Then it moves on from there. But it is the
Yeah,
sex
not
doesn't
necessarily
happen
always,
first.
sure, but that's not like that's because we have certain standards in society about consent, worries about safety.
Exactly,
Obviously.
society. There's
But that
societal
doesn't mean that
rules.
people don't have one night stands. That happens all the time. People just have random stuff.
Doesn't mean I
Yeah, it
want
doesn't mean that no one. Doesn't mean that someone's not gonna
Well, they
eat
can
someone.
get to know the person. Okay,
Just
so now would you
because it's
prefer
a
if they
law.
were cheating on you in a romantic way? Then is that better? Now then it's not a problem.
No, that's also a problem.
Okay.
What?
Well,
No,
then
no
what's the,
cheating
that's my point
anyway.
here. You're saying that your problem is okay. Well, it's not good because they're just having random sex with strangers. Okay, let's have them have an emotional relationship with that stranger. Then now the problem is gone. Now what's the problem?
What? If it's
a
only
personal
between the two of them, then
relationship
there's
with
no
someone
issue.
else. What's the point of
If
a
they know
marriage?
each other.
So if your husband or wife has friends, shouldn't be married?
No, like a romantic relationship. Because that's
What?
what you said.
Well, that's what you want. You're like, no, don't be a hoe. Don't sleep around. So okay, they have to fall in love with them first. Yeah, what do you like?
What?
If your problem is that they're being slutty ho-hos because they're just sleeping around with random people, that's bad. I don't want that. Okay. So then they get to know the person first.
No, if they sleep around, I'm
No.
not married. I'm divorcing them. There's no story. That's the end
Like the
point.
agreement of a marriage is that you don't go around knowing other people because you two are together. Like that's why there's the ring and the lock and the everything.
We're talking about why it is that way.
Because the poly stuff doesn't work out, man.
Because it's
That's the fucking point. So
Because of
engage with
emotions,
the
you
point
know?
then. If you can understand it, engage with it. We're not talking about, oh, because the rules of marriage are this way, that's why. That's not the reason. We're talking about why the rules of marriage are this way.
mostly because how human
So
Well,
let's
it
talk
should be that
about
way.
that.
Their emotions, they
Explain
kinda
them. You can't
don't
just
want
gesture.
to
That's because humans are. You know who fucking does that? The fucking Nazis do that. That's because humans are
Oh.
that way. That's like retard gesture.
So you're
using the
comparing
same
us to
fucking logic. You
Nazis.
can't engage with the emotions you have, and you just go, it's because that's what humans are supposed to do. That's what every racist does when they get asked, why are you a racist? Yeah, well, I like my own kind. That's the first answer everyone gives.
Okay,
You need to be
Nicholas.
able to engage
Then what's your
with
answer
those
then?
feelings. Well, ask me the question.
What's your answer?
Ask me the question.
Please give an answer to your
Do
own
you think
question.
people should engage in romantic or
Answer your own
non-romantic
question.
relationships when in a marriage?
Why do they?
Call- no, no,
Why
no,
they
one
do that?
question at a time, people. One of you, I don't know, figure it out who wants to ask.
Do you
ahead,
think they should engage
So I
in
think they should
romantic or non-romantic relationships? It's like two questions bundled in one.
Like, outside of a, or inside
Like
of a
while they're
marriage?
in a marriage, outside of the marriage. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if it's an
That's
open
what you've been
marriage, I
asking
don't
us.
care, but like, because then that's the whole point. But like, then you want to ask me questions about why an open marriage would or wouldn't be a good thing, guys. Hint.
Yeah, I mean that's what I said.
Well, no, but you asked me if
That's what he
if you're allowed
asked.
to do that. If you're in an open marriage, you're allowed to do that because that's the whole point of
No, I
open
never
marriage.
said if we're allowed to do that. It's like, would you think this is a good thing? if you were in that
If
situation?
both of you agreed to it, then that's what you
Like,
both
would
want.
you agree to it, and why?
You, Nicholas, you personally, you,
If I'm in a
Sina,
relationship and like
do answer the
neither
question.
of us really care about the
You're
sex,
avoiding
okay,
the
why
question.
not?
You're
I
like a
don't care.
politician.
Sleep with whoever you want. Why do I care?
So you.
But Nicholas,
Oh
didn't
my
you
god!
say
Yes,
that?
But
that's
it's
my
you I'm
answer.
asking.
If we both agree, hey, it's okay, we don't really care.
So you would.
Okay, go sleep with someone else.
But Nicholas, didn't you say you get like romantic feelings
Let
from
me see.
for other people after doing sex?
It's
So
a
isn't there
component,
the risk that
absolutely.
they like
That's
ditch you?
why. No, no, hang on. That's why it's an agreement by both sides. You need to be able to trust the person enough to say
Ah.
like, this is sex thing. Or I don't know. You can tell them to find a glory hole somewhere if they really desperately don't want them to see the person face to face, I guess. But then that increases the chance of STDs, so maybe don't.
So like, so if the other party agrees, you agree, but then you said that they get romantic hormones, so they might develop romantic feelings for someone else, leading to a most
Yeah,
likely
he said you're
unstable
supposed to just
relationship
trust them
where
not to,
they
but
might fall for
can't
Sure,
someone
that's
trust
else.
always
them?
possible, but that's why you
But
make the agreement.
That's very unlikely.
That's why you both consent. You say, okay, you know, I've been feeling this way. How do you feel about this? And then I'd be like, okay, if you want that, I'm not opposed to that. You can do that. If I think that I can trust a person like that. If you feel like you can't, if you feel like they're whatever, too impulsive,
In what
too
world can you
childish.
trust them not to fall in love with someone that they're having
No,
sex
it
with
doesn't need to be
regularly?
one person.
They try someone
Preferably, it's
every
not
day.
actually one
What
person.
doesn't matter? They're gonna develop feelings for someone eventually. That's not you. And then there goes your marriage
Yeah,
because
but
they
you
want
guys
to marry
argued
someone
that
else now.
love doesn't come from sex; it comes from friendship. So could I also stop my spouse from having any friends? That's what
No, it
you
doesn't come from
argued.
friendship. It comes from having connections. No, that's not what I said.
So
You're
then,
just
where does
making
it
up
come from if
things.
it's not sex?
It's because you like them extra. The extra friends. But like, if you love someone, you don't view your other friends as other people at that same level. You know?
Yeah, but surely, if okay, let's assume that falling in love
Like
is like
human
a
beings are
dice
very.
roll. Surely,
Human
the more
beings.
people you get
Okay.
to know, the more likely it is to happen more than once. So
But
therefore, we should
the
like
whole point
stop
of
our spouses from
love
seeing
or
other
like
people.
No. That's getting out of hand.
Okay, but why not? Because statistically, that works.
that's
That
Like seeing other
That
people
is
as friends,
how it
or
works.
seeing other people for like stand.
No. Stopping your spouse
Look,
from seeing
the
other
thing
people.
is, you're trying to say that you
Oh.
Nicholas, you're trying to say that we should trust our spouses enough to the point where they're allowed to just go around having sex with people and trust that they'll still love us back. Well, what I'm saying is that they can still have friends, have relationships, friendly relationships, platonic relationships, but there's a certain line here that if they cross, then I feel like they lose their, at least for me, they lose their credibility, their trustworthiness in staying stable in this relationship that we agreed to have. That's my point on it. Like,
Yeah,
it goes over a
statistically,
line.
that line is having friends.
But I think with friends, there's kind of a
Specifically,
barrier
friends of the
because you're
opposite
just
sex,
friends.
No,
But
the
when
line
you-
is the line is you and your partner agreeing. Is you and your partner agreeing that if this line is crossed, then it's done. That's the line. The line
Okay,
you've
and if
agreed
your
with.
line is beyond you had sex with someone else, then there's no problem.
Well, that's between them,
Because
I
I
guess.
mean, like,
but
we can look at the data
for
here.
me.
Women are cheating more and more than they used to because they're more and more in the workplace. They have more exposure to other people, especially of the opposite sex. So obviously, letting your spouse out of the house means that they're going to cheat more. So why not just lock them all up? And why do we trust them to go outside? I bet you've seen some studies.
But
I think-
why is it
well,
only
because
women?
Men
What
were
about the
already
men
cheating
before?
more.
Wouldn't they
That's
be
why.
cheating the whole time?
Women are catching up. That's the problem. Instead of men like going down, women are just getting to the same level.
Yeah, I think that's because they don't like each other personally, so they don't like value each other that much. Or I don't know. It feels like something's missing that you would need to seek out someone else for either like physical or social.
Yeah, maybe the
There's really
sex
not
was really bad,
stability in the
and they were like,
relationship
"Wow,
if they
I wish
if
I
they
had
need
better
to
sex."
seek out
And then
others.
because There was no outlet for that. They decided that they were going to have a romantic relationship with someone else.
I mean, sex is not the only factor.
No, but
You have like
that's the
point,
affection
right? How
with
much
the
is
other
it an
person. Maybe the
effect
person
for
doesn't show affection.
you
Maybe the other
versus how much
person's
it's an effect
abusive.
for
Maybe the
yourself?
other
That's
person's.
different.
Well, I said how much it isn't. How much it isn't, but I can't let the other one do it, you know? Because then I feel like the trust is broken.
Well, then
It's
this
about
is just
me.
like a massive skill issue. Like you can't trust them. With that, then why do you trust them alone in a room with another person? Like at this point, like you're just seeing
Well,
shadows on the
no,
wall.
Why are they alone in a
No,
room
if
with another person?
I trust them
Okay, Engin,
to
that's
not
fucking
do
If
it.
it's in like a workplace
You don't understand. I
environment,
trust them
then
not
yeah,
to not. Nicholas,
because
I
that's meant
trust
to
them
be a
to not do
professional
it.
place,
But
and
if they,
you're not meant to do things like that there.
Yeah, but Engin,
So if
most affairs happen in the workplace.
Well, yeah, that's weird. I wouldn't like someone like that.
Nicholas,
They're
No,
breaking
it's not weird, Engin.
rules.
It's statistics. It doesn't matter how great they are. They're still vulnerable to statistics.
but love isn't statistics. Bro, stop talking about
But that's not
statistics
how
and numbers. Talk
statistics
about
work.
yourself. Talk about
Relevant.
the person. This
Because
is
if we look at the fact that we can't assume that every single person who, oh, they got a job and then they became more likely to cheat on their spouse, that they're all
Like
evil
if 30%
people.
of people cheat in the workplace, does that really mean of any one person I marry has like a 1 in 30 a 30% chance of just cheating in the workplace randomly? Like I feel like if I found 100 people, then 30 of them
1 in
have
30,
a chance of
not
cheating
1 in
in the
30
workplace.
chance.
But then the others might not be interested in that at all.
Well, 100 employed people, anyways.
Well,
But no, that's
usually.
not like. No, but you're arguing that letting the person sleep around will lead to other issues. So even if you don't care about the sex of the line, there'll be other lines that are crossed. And I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I'll admit I don't like. I haven't read up on this data, but I would be willing to bet that the percentage of like open marriages where someone sleeps around, and then like because of that sleeping around, a romantic relationship occurs, which leads to the divorce. Specifically, that track is a smaller percentage than like people who just cheat on their spouse from like workplace shit. So that's what I'm saying. It's like if this is an issue for you, then shouldn't this other thing also be an issue? Why is one of them like okay, the other isn't?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's called cheating for a reason.
No, my issue is after they cheated. Like, I trust them not to cheat. I trust them not to break the trust that me and them,
Like, yeah, if
me
I
and
don't want them to
and
cheat,
I
which,
have agreed with.
yeah, I probably don't. Then I wouldn't want them to go in an open relationship either. It's for the same reasons. But if they break that trust, then I don't know. There's consequences.
Oh, wait, it's for the same reasons. What are the reasons? What are the similarities there?
I don't want them doing that with other people. It's weird.
No. But you said they're the same reason. So you don't like cheating because it's weird?
I mean, do you think it's normal to
Surely there are
oink
other
other people
problems with
when
cheating.
you're in a relationship? Like,
I mean, he's just made one point.
Yeah, what are they? You said they're the
There's
same
other points
reasons.
as
So now
well,
I'm curious. What are
how
the reasons?
cheating is bad.
makes me uncomfortable. And if
So that's
they
why you
feel
don't like
untrustworthy,
people
like
Yeah.
these are kind
Makes
of very
you not
personal
trust a
things,
person.
so it's hard to list them out, right?
I mean, Nicholas, these are enough to not like it. You don't need that much reason to not like something. You don't need like statistical basis and insane logical reason to not like something. Like I don't like green peppers. I don't have a list of reasons why I don't like it. I just don't like it.
You do like green peppers, but then you don't like them. And then you say that you don't care about green peppers, but then when someone doesn't put green peppers into your food, you hate them for it. That's my
What?
problem. It's the inconsistency. I don't mind the preference. You can say, oh, I don't want an open marriage. And then I can be like,
I
okay.
always said I didn't want an open
Okay,
marriage.
where's the inconsistency? Nicholas, where's the inconsistency of me going, okay, we've agreed on a barrier, no cheating. I trust you not to cheat, so you can do whatever you want. Don't care. Then they cheat. Then I divorced them because they cheated.
When did they
Where's the
cheat?
inconsistency? When they
No.
cheated.
What was
Situation.
cheating? What did they do that was cheating?
There's no.
Really, yeah.
They
You're in an
had
open
sex with
marriage.
Physical
someone.
relationship
Cheating, that's
with someone
point.
else.
Or they had a romantic relationship
or
with someone
physical.
else.
Yeah.
No, that's
Yeah.
the point. I'm not saying that the reaction to the
Either or
line
both.
being crossed are the problem. I'm saying that where you're drawing the line is where you're being inconsistent. You're in.
Well, let's define
I'm
it
always
then,
drawing the same line every
specifically.
If
time.
you're in an open marriage, then the line is in a different place. Now,
But
the
I'm not in
question
an
here
open
is
marriage. I said I
no,
don't
no,
want
no, no,
that.
wait.
Okay. I'm waiting.
Therefore, to argue against the concept of an open marriage, you have to argue why the line shouldn't be placed there compared to where the line currently is, not whether or not you would place the line there. Do you understand the difference?
Like, arguing against the
No.
concept of an open marriage. I mean, I'm not controlling other people's relationships. I just personally don't think. Well, at least personally, with taste, I don't like it, so I wouldn't want that. And I don't know how it works out in the long run, like statistically with like family management and stuff. It's weird for the kid, no? If you have a kid.
I mean, depends on whether or not you tell the kid. I don't know
If
if
you
you're
say
like
that you
bringing
find
the
out.
person home every day.
How they not gonna know?
You don't have to bring them in.
Your household every
Go
once in a
away.
while.
Sorry,
Yeah, that
kiddo,
doesn't have
gotta
to
go
happen.
for a business meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but your parents are always gonna be gone every every other week. You're like, huh? I wish I knew where my mommy
Parents do that even when they're not. They just like, oh yeah, I'm going somewhere, and then they just disappear. That happens.
went. Well, then that's
Well, that's
horrible
like-
parents.
60-70% of
Yeah,
like parents.
we're
though, like,
hoping
that's
that
not
they're
like
good parents.
irregular. Most parents are worse in like
All right, then
in like
let's
far
assume
more
it's
abusive
the
ways.
30%.
What do you mean
30,
by
40.
going
like,
somewhere? Is it for
you're-
like a business trip or just like going?
Well, it can be anything. Like not being around for like
No, for having
3
for going
hours
to that person.
in a day, like once or twice a week, or like once or twice a month, maybe depending on how voracious they are, I guess. And like, surely it would be one parent at a time, at least until you're old enough.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
hopefully.
like that's
Don't
like
leave
a
the baby
rational
alone
thing
in
to
the
do.
house.
You don't like, you don't both go on the same day.
Nah, they both leave for 50
Yeah, they're not having like
hours.
cocaine-fueled benders. They're
They'll come back.
these are like 30-year-olds. They don't last that long, Victor.
30-year-olds don't last that long. What?
Not 50 hours.
On a business trip,
On a
smartass.
sex trip, dumbass.
Literally the dumbest sentence
That
you
was the
said.
funniest sentence this whole podcast.
Thank you.
No,
I'm
no, that's-
removing that from the episode.
This episode is getting so demonetized.
No. It's...
Which one of our?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if
We
it's
said
demonetized.
sex
We're not
like at
making any
least 40
money out
times.
of it
Yeah,
anyway.
that's true. But no one's gonna view it. It's YouTube shadow.
What if
bans
this is the
episodes they don't like.
what if this is the viral video?
I told
That's true.
PopCap to go
And then they
fornicate
get no
themselves
views.
multiple times, and our video still did fine. So I think we're okay.
Well, YouTube likes that because it's
I mean,
getting
they
rid of
don't care about-
competitors.
PopCap.
In case PopCap ever
Yeah,
wants to
that's
start.
competitor to
And
YouTube.
What,
Say
PopCap's a
PopCap.
competitor? The
Maybe
competitor
they're work-
competitor
maybe
to
they're working on
YouTube is called
PVZ too.
PopCap.
You never
The
know.
still succeeding business.
Yeah,
Jesus
we
Christ.
can watch all
PVZ
things
tube.
PVZ. And he feels like we're
I
straying
think
off
you can
topic.
do that on YouTube.
Yes, that might not be the point of this discussion. Anyways, what was I doing? I was playing Devil's Avocado, and then
We
you
should
guys
probably
were like
wrap
saying
up
things.
soon. Let's make our like
Let's play
close
okay,
to our
well,
final
final
statement
statement.
here.
No, it's a joke on Devil's Advocate.
Yeah, I
Whatever.
know.
Do you though? Are you really that smart?
Yeah, because you were arguing for the other side, even though you
It
probably
doesn't
want
require to
a
be smart. It
non-open marriage.
requires listening to the
Okay,
words you say.
so
Yeah.
let's just
I
try to
did a Google
really quickly
search.
get over this. You did a Google search on my desires of marriage.
No, I'm Devil's Advocate. Some time ago.
Okay, I was wondering whether or not that was
On
open
your
information.
mama.
Yeah,
So,
I guess
um,
Google Bard knows now.
So marriages
Uh,
are a relationship which
Alright.
definitely hold a lot of meaning to people. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, I think
they
culturally
can
also they have a
be
lot of
financial
value.
in nature.
Maybe. Yeah, well, isn't
Um,
that
And
culturally?
traditionally.
Tradition is
I
culture.
guess.
And not all culture is tradition.
They're in the
Depends.
same
Culture-
vein, but I guess.
it's pretty close. Yeah, they're in like same
Um,
vein of region.
For
Yeah, Nicholas, you had a point.
reasons which I guess we'll have to do like deep vein thrombosis surgery to figure out later on. There is a rather inherent linking in basically all society of sexuality, romance, marriage, kids, not kids linked to sexuality, but like having kids. And these things are all kind of neatly
It's
tied
like
up.
sexuality
bow.
is gonna be in the episode about politicians.
Yeah. That's a different one. That's when we're talking about Little Saint James.
We're doing episodes about politicians.
I don't know if we'll do
Yes.
an episode on politicians. Probably not.
Nicholas, this is the slowest.
In like 3 years, when we start running out of
Yeah.
Nicholas, this is probably the
ideas.
slow. Oh yeah, with like we aren't already. Nicholas, this is the slowest statement I've ever heard in my life.
Well, no, this
Read
is
the
your
book.
turn to make a statement.
My statement is that cheating in
According to your
relationships is
personal
bad.
taste. I mean, right?
No, but what you define as cheating is the point, not necessarily that it's bad.
Engaging
Like being evil is
with in physical or romantic relationships with other people,
And you've
Yeah.
agreed
if
that
you've
that's
agreed
beyond
that
the
that's
line
beyond the line
in the
of your
relationship.
marriage is wrong, yeah, and you will explode
Bad.
if you do that.
ah.
And the line in
Okay,
polygamous
it's polyamorous,
relationships
no? I thought that
is nowhere.
Why are we making up all
Polygamy
these-
is for when you
Polyamorous,
have I think,
polygamous.
multiple like sex partners.
Isn't
But
polyamorous the
polyamory is
same
like
thing?
when you love multiple people. I think. I
Oh,
hold on. Check this out because amour is love.
What's
So
the two
polyballs,
words
they-
combined?
polyballs.
polygamy,
What's the
the
What's the
condition
two
of
words
what?
combined?
Oh, the
Polyballs.
practice or custom of having more than one wife or husband at the same time. So this is like a
So it is
polyamory is the practice of engaging in multiple romantic and typically sexual, but not necessarily, relationships with the consent of all the people involved. So I guess you could be polygamous without your spouses knowing.
That'd be weird, bro. You need to get married.
And you need
Ninja,
to be
you
a
need to
really good
multiply
ninja.
venues. Yeah, anyway, I would define. I don't know, I mean, the definitions of a romantic
Continuing on.
relationship and
Oh yeah, you can
a
go.
physical one are kind of sketchy, but like, I think there's certain things that would show, like, usually you're not touching up your friends or going on dinner dates with them. So if they're
Whoa,
doing stuff like
Since
that,
when?
Yeah, it's-
okay, Nicholas, you're kind of an odd one
Since
out.
ever.
Uh,
Your exception to
So
the
if
rule,
you see
buddy.
things like that, maybe it's a no-no. But yeah, I don't know. If you want to go
Yeah,
have
so
a
if you see a Nicholas in the
volleyballs
wild,
relationship,
just attack
go
him.
ahead.
I will
And
say there's
remember
one
to
exception
marry
for
that
me.
subscribe.
Um,
Even if I was in an open marriage, if they started having sex with like an ex-boyfriend or whatever, like ex-girlfriend, that kind of thing, that one would
concerning.
trip some alarm bell. That would be like okay.
So why does an
Because they've
ex-boyfriend
liked
matter?
them before.
Because
Why
there
is
was already a
ex-boyfriend
romantic
crossing the line
relationship there, and I'm
instead
not
of
sure. The fact
just
that
a
they're going
boyfriend?
back suggests that, like, cause if you have a romantic relationship with someone in the past,
So
I
do
don't
you
really
think,
care. That's
Nicholas,
probably an
if you
issue
have an
because the
open
relationship's
marriage, the person has to tell you who they're going out with?
over. Well, yeah, I think you talk about that. That would be like an you're going into Justin.
But doesn't it just like really complicate the marriage? And you're always like, I would
So,
always
don't
be
know.
doubting
I feel like
my
that
wife.
opens up some issues with like
Um,
trust, no? Because now you have to tell them
But-
what you're doing.
But then how do you know
who
that,
you're doing it with?
Nicholas?
And it's
Well, no,
like,
this is the thing though.
Sorry.
If they were cheating on you,
Nicholas,
well,
they
well, yeah,
wouldn't just
you're
not
supposed to
agree
trust
to an
them not
open
to do
marriage. Like they would have just like been having sex behind your back anyways. So like the fact that they like, if it was brought up and talked
Well,
about,
that's why
that
you have
suggests
to
there's
find
already a
people
level
that
of
won't cheat
respect for you. That where like they're like, no, actually, I want to talk
But then,
about
Nicholas,
this, and I
what
only
if
do
they-
this if you give my permission, or if you give your permission to me. That already means that there's like a level of self-control and restraint that these people are capable of. Like they didn't come to you after they cheated on you and going like, oh, could we
But
make it
Nicholas-
an open marriage?
But it
Actually,
means there's
That-
even
that-
more self-restraint if they never do it. But, well, it all
Nicholas,
depends
what
on
if-
how much you
what
can
if
trust someone.
they,
But
you're,
yeah,
you're,
go ahead.
Engin, let me say the sentence, please. I've been trying to say this sentence for like 10 years. Nicholas, what if, for example, your spouse was indeed, you're in an open relationship, and your spouse was indeed having sex or having a relationship with their ex-boyfriend, but they decide to tell you it's your boyfriend.
It's just their
It's just a
boyfriend.
new person they found, a stranger.
Wait,
How do
sorry,
you
they
know
tried to
about
tell
it?
you it's who?
It's like a random person. They don't tell you who it
It's just
actually
a stranger. They just tell you it's a stranger. Then isn't that crossing the same line? It's
Well-
cheating. But again, you don't know about it.
Yeah, see, it depends way too much on
This
how much you
probably
can
depends.
trust someone.
But
Like, yeah, then you're gonna
well, no,
start
I'm
doubting
not gonna start
your
doubting them
spouse
if I
again.
don't
It's
know.
like, oh,
This
are
is
they
like the problem with
actually?
you, I don't know. If I was like following them, and I knew what their boyfriend looked like, then
So you're telling
be
me, you're never gonna be paranoid in the entire time you're in an
what
open
if I trust
relationship.
them? That's why you let it happen, is because you trust them.
To what extent do you
Like
trust
you're not
them?
going into it not trusting them and then trying to have them prove that they can be trusted.
But what if they break your trust?
Hmm.
Well, then that's when you can deal with that issue. That's like, yeah, that's always gonna be a what if they like, what if they shoot you in the face?
But isn't gonna use that
But there's
same
a
argument
higher.
for
But no matter in what
marriage?
circumstance, yeah, if you
You
use
trust
the
them
same
to
argument,
not
you use
engage
a
in
lot
things
of
you
what
don't
ifs.
want them to, and if they do, then you deal with it.
Yeah, that's what trust means. Like, yeah, obvious. That's always gonna be like that line always happens somewhere. That's my point. If you don't trust them at all, then don't let them into the
But
office. Like,
as you
then
were
that's the same
saying
thing.
about,
It's the same argument.
but as you were saying about statistics, open-ended marriages end a lot quicker than any closed-ended
What's your
marriages
source?
in any way possible. Like,
Healthy.
Be-
No, I
my
think
source
that,
is my
that
brain,
even if that's
because,
true, a lot of that is just people having an open
because
marriage.
these people
because
are more open,
They already don't care. That's a different thing.
have a good relationship,
Those are separate issues. And I don't
Or at least
disagree
a good,
necessarily, but
like,
that kind of muddies the data a little bit.
intimate relationship.
One study way.
Look, I think
According to
you're
Reddit
fucked if you're in an
comments.
open-ended
Well, Victor,
relationship.
no,
That's
no.
my personal
You
opinion.
think that you would end the marriage,
You're
though,
in-
so that's not like a... Like, that's a you issue. This is not a the spouse is cheating
Well,
on you
I
issue.
would.
This is a you are seeing phantoms on
No,
the
but I'm
wall.
saying that your relationship, your marriage is much more likely to end in like 5 years than any other marriage, than any closed marriage, in fact. So I think, like, by that point, you have a higher chance of just divorcing soon after, because they'll probably find another lover, or you
Yeah,
find
This is
another
unlikely in a
need
normal
to,
marriage because...
because you
How do you know
guys
that?
don't go
What do you
sleeping
mean?
around.
Most married people,
with other
like, I'm
people?
pretty sure, like...
Most.
Hold on.
Be-
Um...
No, that's what we've agreed. I don't care about cheating. Remove cheating. This is up in the
Well, there's
lines.
never
and
any
in the
cheating,
open
and there's
in the
never any
lines of
cheating
an
with
open
her.
open.
That
Let me
doesn't
say
work.
my fucking
You can't just
sentence,
say
you
that there's
fat
no cheating,
bitch.
because then there is no divorce, because then no one ever cheated.
What? No, that's not what I'm talking about. Listen to what I say instead of interrupting me every 5 seconds. Oh my god. In an open-ended relationship, the lines are expanded. So, I guess an intimate relationship is allowed. But in a closed relationship, the line is before that. So that doesn't exist. That means that people are more likely to go sleeping around with other strangers and develop romantic feelings for them, and then eventually these romantic feelings could end up causing a breakup, and they loving that other person more than you. That if you're in an open-ended relationship, and we're assuming that they're not cheating in a closed-ended relationship, then in that case, the chances of you losing your partner because they found someone new is
Yeah.
Wait, so
I
they
mean,
do end up
less
cheating on
likely.
you in the open marriage, but they never end up cheating on you in the non-open marriage. What?
No, that's not what he said. Like, if
No, they're not cheating. They're not cheating because it's in the rules.
Okay.
It's like in the lines.
So, which part of this argument doesn't apply to not letting your wife out of the house?
You can
That's-
always look.
No.
Well, the-
Like, but which part of this doesn't apply to, like, women shouldn't go to work because they're more likely to find other people and they're more likely to cheat on them? That's my point here. You can always make this argument. You can always say that the circle has to be tighter. And that's always going to be technically true if you want to avoid being hurt. But you have to trust someone at some point. The only difference is where you trust them. You draw that line yourself. But to say that because it makes it more likely, therefore I won't, then don't let them out of the fucking house. Don't let them meet other people. Then they can't have any like romantic relationship with other people. They can't cheat with anyone else because they can't, unless they're cheating with your children. In which case, I don't know. I don't have kids.
What?
What? Or they could just have normal platonic
Yeah.
relationships.
But if to you in an open marriage, part of a platonic
Exactly.
relationship can be sex, then the same thing applies. That's the point. You're drawing the line somewhere.
No,
You will draw the line
you
somewhere.
Said, you said it yourself. That you said it yourself that sex ends up to getting romantic hormones. These pheromones from your body, and that ends up wanting to have a romantic relationship.
Yes, you get a hormone.
If you're just talking to your
that
friend,
will
that's not
affect
gonna happen.
you, but you also get that in. First of all, you also get that in non-sexual ways. But B, those aren't something that you can't just control. If you're aware of that,
A lot less
and
of.
you are, an adult, then that's completely controllable. There are tons of people who have tons of meaningless, intransigent sex all the time. They don't fall in love with those people. Otherwise, they wouldn't have dads abandoning children after they got the mother pregnant, because, they would have
What?
fallen in love with her and gone and gotten married. It doesn't always happen. It's slightly more likely, sure, especially if they're not in a relationship yet. If they're already in a relationship,
It's a lot
and
more
if
likely.
they're
in an
already
open
committed to
ended
someone
relationship.
else, and they are aware of these things,
But I
then
think it's also
all that
that's a different
difference comes down to
issue
is your
because
trust in them.
dads usually abandon the kids because they don't want to deal with all the financial, legal issues and stuff.
Yeah, but if you
Like,
love the
might
person,
not
that
just
wouldn't
be 'cause
matter.
they
That's
don't-
my point. If you had sex and then
Yeah,
you
well,
fell
like,
in love
We
with
don't love
them,
the people
then
that you're
that's-
fucking
We're not saying
straight
you
in an
just
open-ended
always love
relationship.
them
What
when
about
you-
them? What if
It's
those
just
what if
more
those
likely.
people
yeah,
get
but if
children?
it's all about probabilities, then again, you're more probable to have your wife
And
cheat
also-
on you if
And
you
also
let them out the
imagine
fucking
if you're
house.
if
So my question
Oh,
is,
yeah.
where is the argument that doesn't apply
also
to that?
imagine if you're
Because if we
if-
agree that you should let people out of the house even though they're married to you, then all these arguments come down to how much do you think you can trust them. And that's always going to be a judgment that you have to make personally. There's no general argument for that.
Okay, then let them fuck whoever they want. Let them have romantic relationships whoever they want then. If that's the case.
That's my
if that's
question.
your
If you
Is
point.
there an
trust
argument
them
that you
to
can
do-
give that is
Well,
specific
yeah.
to this, but isn't specific to anything else? Because you say that it's okay. This is the inconsistency I'm talking about. If thing A is okay, even though it also causes thing C, but you're saying that thing B is bad because it causes thing C, then what's the line? Where is the thing? What's the issue? What's the separation? Because if there isn't one, then yeah, it's just about trust. And you can say that I wouldn't trust people generally to be able to handle, this much freedom, but I think that they can handle this much. And fine, fair enough, I guess. But then that's not, then you're not
That
actually
is exactly my
singling out
argument.
open marriages in any way. You're just saying that this is where my line for, misanthropy goes.
Yeah, sounds fair.
That's about right. Yeah. But
I
Just
win
saying.
So
again
now,
because
do you
I said it was down to
understand,
personal preference?
my point on, why that seems inconsistent to me?
no. Refuse your point.
You can choose to have closed marriages and not open marriages based on your personal preference, but it's hard to argue against open marriages because that's not based, your arguments should be based on facts and stuff.
Yeah, I'm saying that you can't singularly
Because the
condemn
decision is
them.
based on personal preference, you can't really argue that much for either side.
Yeah, if you're okay with thing A, then you
Look,
can't be
all
against
I'm
thing B
saying,
without being a hypocrite.
Like,
You can accept that
if
we're all gonna
the
have different
thing you don't
standards,
want
that's fine.
is people having physical relationships with others, then you would want to close marriage, but then there's the chance they cheat. But if you're okay with that, then you have an open marriage and you let them do that. It really all just matters on where you draw the line.
And then there's a higher
Yeah.
risk of them. It's just like the further you draw the line, the
Some
riskier it
random
is that
study
they
said
break up with you. But
92% of
that's
open
up to you,
marriages
really.
end in divorce. But that number might be lower now that they're
That
more
seems a
common.
little.
Yeah.
That seems like a very soft number, but okay.
It might be biased.
I feel like nothing is 92%. Yeah. Now it's like an old marriage. We just all sit here quietly on the dining table, looking at each other. This
Oh yeah,
this
one source
polycule
does say
is getting old,
92%.
guys.
Yeah, I don't know how
You can take
trustworthy
victory.
that is, because if you Google
This-
it, everybody just
this
refers
other-
to that one source.
This other one is saying
What's
70.
the study called? Can I say that?
I don't know. It was in some world statistics database.
I can send you the link.
Because I'd love to see, like, it's like a...
I'm getting it from Sheldon E. Finman.
No,
that
that's
is.
the attorney law, but they
Open
reference something
marriage
else for the actual
divorce.
study, and it takes you to
Right.
world metrics, but it doesn't take you
It's
to
in
the
it's in Discord,
proper
Nicholas.
site.
Okay, while the
Which-
research is somewhat outdated, oh god, how old is this study?
20 years.
Wait.
57
92?
years.
Maybe I
Where
can
is it?
find it. Pets and animals,
Okay.
gambling and gaming
World
calculator.
metrics, turning numbers into insights. Oh my god, it doesn't fucking... Useless! They don't know how links work.
Oh, the link is old, I think. It doesn't work anymore.
It just leads to, like, the website from which they got it, but not
Yeah,
to, like,
we're
the
s-
actual...
Yeah, look, they don't even have half these calculators anymore.
Psychology
everyone says
Today,
92%,
the slippery
but
slope
I
of an
don't know
open
where they're
marriage,
getting these numbers.
2013. There's something? Marriage. Incidence rates for open marriage in the United States are somewhat dubious, but spanning estimates have ranged from 2 to 9%. Future open marriages.
But I don't think this really matter. It's fine. I think we've made our final points here. That the further you draw the line, the riskier it is, but it's up to you really at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I will
that's
just say
about
that
it.
the 92 seems stuff, but like I can't find where it comes from.
Yeah, this 92 I definitely seems sus.
Yeah,
It's
I don't
probably
know,
high,
like, even
but
if we
I don't know
account
if
for,
it's
like,
that
marriages
high.
that are failing and they become an open marriage to try and save, I feel like it should be, like, maybe, like, 80 or 70, like, not that high.
Yeah, I think it's in like the range of 70 to 80, but definitely not 90.
But yeah, I think, yeah, when you're in a
Alright,
relationship,
thank you for-
consider what you
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
need and want and like, but also what your partner needs and wants and like, and how much you're willing to, I guess, kind of accommodate for that, and how you feel about that. And these are all things you should talk about beforehand, before you get married. I mean, yeah, no, it's kind of like a buzzkill. Like, you sit down and you're, like, having a good time, and they're like, okay, what do you feel about our sex life? Do you think it kind of sucks, actually? But, like, it's good to know about these things. Well, then
Nicholas,
you
what
can,
if it's
you know, keep
really
on having
good?
sex. That's fine. I don't, like, I'm not condemning, like, I'm not, like, in any way against a closed marriage at all. I'm not saying
But
that.
what if-
I'm just saying that, like,
What if Nicholas, what if like, what if the sex is really bad, but they
well,
don't
then
care,
that's
so they
also
just stay
fine. Like,
together?
that's another point you could do. I mean, preferably, I think that sounds like the kind of greatest marriage. It's just like no one really cares.
What if they don't have
Well, if no one really
genitalia?
Then I
cares
hope they
about
love each other.
anything, then what's the point?
Well, no, but if you care about love,
if they're-
idiot.
What if they're
okay.
nanobots?
Yeah, if you're French and you care
But
about
what if
love.
it gets too open and you're
What
just
if they're
together because
machines?
of formality, but you're like seeing other people on the side, hanging out with other. Well, then you just turn into some weird polygamy, amorous balls thing, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, fundamentally, I think that a good marriage should be able to
Ballistic.
function purely as a friendship. Like, if it can't do that, then I don't know
Yeah.
what's keeping you together. Is it the kids? Is it, like, the sex?
It's the
I
law.
agree
You can
with
get
that. A
divorced
friendship
nowadays.
should be able to function. Wait, a marriage should be able to function as a friendship,
All right,
and that's why.
we figured it out. If you want to
Sex
keep
is
your wife,
unnecessary.
just remove divorce laws.
'Cause,
Max is unnecessary. Okay, then let's end on that. Max is unnecessary.
I mean, yeah, you
Yeah.
can live fine without ever doing it. I'm pretty sure you can live a very fulfilling life.
Just have
Be a
kids using a
virtuoso.
turkey base.
What?
Look, you guys ended the story. Do whatever you want. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Have a nice day. Peace, boys.
Bye.